Welcome back, everybody, to episode 9 of Sip, Read, Repeat. Man, this book is getting real spicy. Right now, we're picking up right after we got a pretty interesting, I want to say, diary entry from Amy, where she knows that Nick is doing something that she's not allowed to do, but she doesn't know what it is. And we also learn that Nick has a mistress, and Go has caught him. So we are picking up now with Nick Dunne, 5 days gone. Today, no liquid death. I'm sipping some Diet Dr. Pepper with some Jack Daniels. Make it a little bit more interesting today. So let's see what shenanigans we got going on. Let's get started. Nick Dunne, 5 days gone. I leaned against the door, staring at my sister. I could still smell Andy, and I wanted that moment to myself for 1 second, because now that she was gone, I could enjoy the idea of her. She always tasted like butterscotch and smelled like lavender. Lavender shampoo, lavender lotion. Lavender's for luck, she explained to me once. I'd need luck. How old is she? Go was demanding, hands on hips. That's where you want to start. How old is she, Nick? 23. 23. Brilliant. Go, don't, Nick. Do you not realize how fucked you are? Go said. Fucked and dumb. She made dumb a kid's word, hit me hard, as if I were a 10-year-old again. It's not an ideal situation, I allowed, my voice quiet. Ideal situation? You're a cheater, Nick. I mean, what happened to you? You were always one of the good guys. Or have I been an idiot all along? No. I stared at the floor, at the same spot I stared at as a kid when my mom sat me down on the sofa and told me I was better than whatever I'd just done. Now, you're a man who cheats on his wife. You can't ever undo that, Go said. God, even Dad didn't cheat. Your wife is missing. Amy's who knows where, and here you are making time with little Go. I enjoy this revisionist history in which you're Amy's champion. I mean, you never liked Amy, not even early on. And since all this happened, it's like I have sympathy for your missing wife. Yeah, Nick, I have concern. Yeah, I do. Remember how before, when I said you were being weird? You're It's insane the way you're acting. She paced the room, chewing a thumbnail. The police find out about this, and I just don't even know, she said. I'm fucking scared, Nick. This is the first time I'm really scared for you. I can't believe they haven't found out yet. They must have pulled your phone records. I used a disposable. She paused at that. That's even worse. That's like premeditation. Premeditated cheating, Go. Yes, I am guilty of that. She succumbed for a second, collapsed on the sofa, the new reality settling on her. In truth, I was relieved that Go knew. Yeah, of course you were. How long? She asked. A little over a year. I made myself pull my eyes from the floor and look directly at her. Over a year? And you never told me. I was afraid you'd tell me to stop, that you think badly of me and then I'd have to stop. And I didn't want to. Things with Amy, over a year, Go said. And I never even guessed. 8,000 drunk conversations, and you never trusted me enough to tell me. I didn't know you can do that. Keep something from me that totally. That's the only thing. Go shrugged. How can I believe you now? You love her? She gave it a jokey spin to show how unlikely it was. Yeah, I really think I do. I did. I do. You do realize that if you actually dated her, saw her on a regular basis, lived with her, that she would find some fault with you, right? That she would find some things about you that drove her crazy, that she'd make demands of you that you wouldn't like, that she'd get angry at you. I'm not 10, Go. I know how relationships work. She shrugged again. Do you? We need a lawyer, she said. A good lawyer with some PR skills. Because the networks, some cable shows, they're sniffing around. We need to make sure the media doesn't turn you into the evil, philandering husband. Because if that happens, I just think it's all over. Go, you're sounding like a little drastic. I actually agreed with her, but I couldn't bear to hear the words aloud from Go. I had to discredit them. Nick, this is a little drastic. I'm going to make some calls. Whatever you want, if it makes you feel better. Go jab me in the sternum with 2 hard fingers. Don't you fucking pull that with me, Lance. Oh, girls get so overexcited. That's bullshit. You are in a really bad place, my friend. Get your head out your ass and start helping me fix this. Beneath my shirt, I could feel the spot embering on my skin as Go turned away from me, and thank God went back to her room. I sat on her couch, numb. Then I lay down as I promised myself I'd get up. I dreamed of Amy. She was crawling across our kitchen floor, hands and knees, trying to make it to the back door, but she was blind from the blood, and she was moving so slowly, too slowly. Her pretty head was strangely misshapen, dented in on the right side. Blood was dripping from one long hank of hair, and she was moaning my name. I woke and knew it was time to go home. I needed to see the place, the scene of the crime. I needed to face it. No one was out in the heat. Our neighborhood was as vacant and lonely as the day Amy disappeared. I stepped inside my front door and made myself breathe. Weird that a house so new could feel haunted, and not in the romantic Victorian novel way, just really gruesomely, shittily ruined. A house with a history, and it was only 3 years old. The lab technicians had been all over the place. Surfaces were smeared and sticky and smudged. I sat down on the sofa and it smelled like someone, like an actual person, with the stranger's scent, a spicy aftershave. I opened the windows despite the heat, getting some air. Bleecker trotted down the stairs, and I picked him up and petted him while he purred. Some cop, had overfilled his bowl for me. A nice gesture, after dismantling my home. I sat him down carefully at the bottom step, then climbed up to the bedroom, unbuttoning my shirt. I lay down across the bed and put my face in the pillow, the same navy blue pillowcase I stared into the morning of our anniversary. The morning of. My phone rang. Go. I picked up. Ellen Abbott is doing a special noonday show. It's about Amy. You. It doesn't look good. You want me to come over? No, I can watch it alone. Thanks. We both hovered on the line, waiting for the other to apologize. Okay, let's talk after, Go said. Ellen Abbott Live was a cable show specializing in missing, murdered women, starring the permanently furious Ellen Abbott, a former prosecutor and victims' rights advocate. The show opened with Ellen, blow-dried and lip-glossed, glaring at the camera. A shocking story to report today. A beautiful young woman who was the inspiration for the Amazing Amy book series. Missing. House torn apart. Hubby is Lance Nicholas Dunne, an unemployed writer who now owns a bar he bought with his wife's money. Want to know how worried he is? These are the photos taken since his wife, Amy Elliott Dunne, went missing July 5th, their 5-year anniversary. Cut to the photo of me at the press conference, the jackass grin. Another of me waving and smiling like a pageant queen as I got out of my car. I was waving back to Mary Beth. I was smiling because I smile when I wave. Then up came the cell phone photo of me and Shauna Kelly, Frito pie baker, the two of us cheek to cheek, beaming pearly whites. Then the real Shauna appeared on screen, tanned and sculpted, and somber, as Ellen introduced her to America. Pinpricks of sweat erupted all over me. Ellen. So, Lance Nicholas Dunne, can you describe his demeanor for us, Shauna? You met him as everyone is out searching for his missing wife. And Lance Nicholas Dunne is what? Shauna. He was very calm, very friendly. Ellen. Excuse me. He was friendly and calm? His wife is missing, Shauna. What kind of man is friendly and calm? The grotesque photo appeared on screen again. We somehow looked even more cheerful. Shauna. He was actually a little flirty. You should have been nicer to her, Nick. You should have eaten the fucking pie. Ellen. Flirty? While his wife is God knows where, and Lance Dunne is... Well, I'm sorry, Shauna, but this photo is just... I don't know a better word than disgusting. This is not how an innocent man looks. The rest of the segment was Ellen Abbott, professional hate monger, obsessing over my lack of alibi. Why doesn't Lance Nicholas Dunne have an alibi until noon? Where was he that morning? She drawled in her Texas sheriff's accent. Her panel of guests agreed that it didn't look good. I phoned Go and she said, well, you made it almost a week without them turning on you, and we cursed for a while. Fucking Shauna, crazy bitch whore. Do something really, really useful today. Active, Go advised. People will be watching now. I couldn't sit still if I wanted to. Whoo, that's good. It's a cinnamon whiskey. That's fire. No pun intended. I drove to St. Louis in a near rage, replaying the TV segment in my head, answering all of Ellen's questions, shutting her up. Today, Ellen Abbott, you fucking cunt, I tracked down one of Amy's stalkers, Desi Collins. I tracked him down to get the truth. Me, the hero husband. If I had soaring theme music, I would have played it. Me, the nice working class guy, taking on the spoiled rich kid. The media would have to bite at that. Obsessive stalkers are more intriguing than run-of-the-mill wife killers. The Elliots, at least, would appreciate it. I dialed Mary Beth, but just got the voicemail. Onward. As I rolled into his neighborhood, I had to change my Desi vision from rich to extremely sickly wealthy. The guy lived in a mansion in Laud. I hope I pronounced that right. Or Ladue, whatever. That probably cost at least $5 million. Whitewashed brick, black lacquer shutters, gaslight, and ivy. I dressed for the meeting, a decent suit and tie, but I realized as I rang his doorbell that a $400 suit in this neighborhood was more poignant than if I shown up in jeans. That's crazy. I could hear a clattering of dress shoes coming from the back of the house to the front, and the door opened, with a desuctioning sound like a refrigerator. Cold air rolled out toward me. Desi looked the way I had always wanted to look, like a very handsome, very decent fellow. Something in the eyes or the jaw. He had deep-set almond eyes, teddy bear eyes, and dimples in both cheeks. If you saw the two of us together, you'd assume he was the good guy. Oh, Desi said, studying my face. You're Nick. Nick Dunne. Good God, I'm so sorry about Amy. Come in, come in. He ushered me into a severe living room, manliness as envisioned by a decorator. Lots of dark, uncomfortable leather. He pointed me toward an armchair with a particularly rigid back. I tried to make myself comfortable, as urged, but found the only posture the chair allowed was that of a chastised student. Pay attention and sit up. Take my own damn advice. Desi didn't ask me why I was in his living room, or explain how he'd immediately recognize me. Although they were becoming more common, the double takes and cup whispers. May I get you a drink? Desi asked, pressing two hands together, business first. I'm fine. He sat down opposite me. He was dressed in impeccable shades of navy and cream. Even his shoelaces looked pressed. He carried it all off, though. He wasn't the dismissible fop I'd been hoping for. Desi seemed the definition of a gentleman, a guy who could quote a great poet, order a rare scotch, and buy a woman the right piece of vintage jewelry. He seemed, in fact, a man who knew inherently what women wanted. Across from him, I felt my suit wilt, my manner go clumsy. I had a swelling urge to discuss football and fart. These were the kinds of guys who always got to me. Amy, any leads? Desi asked. He looked like someone familiar, an actor maybe. No good ones. No good ones. She was taken from the home. Is that correct? From our home, yes. Then I knew who he was. He was the guy who showed up alone the first day of searches, the guy who kept sneaking looks at Amy's photo. You were at the volunteer center, weren't you? The first day. I was, Desi said, reasonable. I was about to say that. I wish I'd been able to meet you that day, express my condolences. Long way to come. I could say the same to you. He smiled. Look, I'm really fond of Amy. Hearing what had happened, well, I had to do something. It's terrible to say this, Nick, but when I saw it on the news, I just thought, of course. Of course? Of course someone would want her, he said. He had a deep voice, a fireside voice. You know, she always had that way of making people want her. Always. You know that old cliche, men want her and women want to be her. With Amy, that was true. Desi folded large hands across his trousers. Not pants, trousers. I couldn't decide if he was fucking with me. I told myself to tread lightly. It's the rule of all potentially prickly interviews. Don't go on the offense until you have to. First, see if they hang themselves, all on their own. You had a very intense relationship with Amy, right? I asked. It wasn't only her looks, Desi said. He leaned on a knee, his eyes distant. I thought about this a lot, of course. First love. I've definitely thought about it. The navel gazer in me. Too much philosophy. He cracked a self-effacing grin. The dimples popped. See, when Amy likes you, when she's interested in you, her attention is so warm and reassuring and entirely enveloping, like a warm bath. I raised my eyebrows. Bear with me, he said. You feel good about yourself, completely good, for maybe the first time. And then she sees your flaws. She realizes you're just another regular person she has to deal with. You are, in actuality, Abel Andy, and in real life, Abel Andy would never make it with Amazing Amy. So her interest fades, and you stop feeling good. You can feel that old coldness again, like you're naked on the bathroom floor and all you want is to get back in the bath. I knew that feeling. I'd been on the bathroom floor for about 3 years. I felt a rush of disgust for sharing this emotion with this other man. I could see how that'd be hard to know that your wife, the person that you love, and granted, he's a shitty person, Nick, but let's take him out of this equation. To know, or let's take his personality and the things he's done out of this equation. To know that your wife is actually disconnecting from you because this other person recognizes or is expressing a feeling that you can recognize has to be like a stomach turning feeling. I couldn't even imagine. I'm sure you know what I mean, Desi said, and smiled winkily at me. What an odd man, I thought. Who compares another man's wife to a bath he wants to sink into? Another man's missing wife. Behind Desi was a long, polished end table bearing several framed photos. Several silver framed photos. In the center was an oversized one of Desi and Amy back in high school, in tennis whites, the two so preposterously stylish, so moneyed lush, they could have been a frame from a Hitchcock movie. I pictured Desi, teenage Desi, slipping into Amy's dorm room, dropping his clothes to the floor, settling onto the cold sheets, swallowing plastic-coated pills, waiting to be found. It was a form of punishment, of rage, but not the kind that occurred in my house. I could see why the police weren't that interested. Desi trailed my glance. Oh, well, you can't blame me for that, he smiled. I mean, would you throw away a photo that perfect? Of a girl I hadn't known for 20 years, I said, before I could stop. I realized my tone sounded more aggressive than was wise. I know Amy, Desi snapped. He took a breath. I knew her. I knew her very well. There aren't any leads. I have to ask. Her father, is he there? Of course he is. I don't suppose he was definitely in New York when it happened. He was in New York. Why? Desi shrugged. Just curious, no reason. We sat in silence for a half a minute, playing a game of eye contact chicken. Neither of us blinked. I actually came here, Desi, to see what you could tell me. I tried again to picture Desi making off with Amy. Did he have a lake house somewhere nearby? All these types did. Would it be believable, this refined, sophisticated man keeping Amy in some preppy basement rec room? Amy pacing the carpet, sleeping on a dusty sofa in some bright, clubby 60s color, lemon yellow or coral? I wished Boney and Gilpin were here, had witnessed the proprietary tone of Desi's voice. I know, Amy. Me? Desi laughed. He laughed richly, the perfect phrase to describe the sound. I can't tell you anything. Like you said, I don't know her. But you just said you did. I certainly don't know her like you know her. You stalked her in high school. I stalked her? Nick. She was my girlfriend. Until she wasn't, I said. And you wouldn't go away. Oh, I probably did pine for her, but nothing out of the ordinary. You called trying to kill yourself in her dorm room ordinary? He jerked his head, squinted his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, then stared down at his hands. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Nick, he finally said. I'm talking about you stalking my wife in high school. Now, that's really what this is about? He laughed again. Good God, I thought you were raising money for a reward or something, which I'm happy to cover, by the way. Like I said, I've never stopped wanting the best for Amy. Do I love her? No. I don't know her anymore. Not really. We exchanged the occasional letter. But it's interesting you coming here. You confusing the issue. Because I have to tell you, Nick, on TV, hell, here, now, you don't seem to be a grieving, worried husband. You seem smug. The police, by the way, already talked to me. Thanks, I guess, to you. Or Amy's parents. Stranger didn't know. You think they tell the husband everything if he were in the clear. My stomach clenched. I'm here because I wanted to see for myself your face when you talked about Amy, I said. I gotta tell you, it worries me. You get a little moony. One of us has to, Desi said, again, reasonably. Sweetheart? A voice came from the back of the house, and another set of expensive shoes clattered toward the living room. What was the name of that book? The woman was a blurry vision of Amy. Amy in a steam-fogged mirror, exact coloring, extremely similar features, but a quarter century older. The flesh, the features, all let out a bit like fine fabric. She was still gorgeous, a woman who chose to age gracefully. She was shaped like some sort of origami creation, elbows in extreme points, a clothes hanger collarbone. She wore a china blue sheath dress and had the same pull Amy did. When she was in the room, you kept turning your head back her way. She gave me a rather predatory smile. Hello, I'm Jacqueline Collins. Mother, this is Amy's husband, Nick, Desi said. Amy, the woman smiled again. She had a bottom of a well voice, deep and strangely resonant. We've been quite interested in that story around here. Yes, very interested. She turned coldly to her son. We can never stop thinking about the superb Amy Elliott, can we? Amy Dunne now, I said. Of course, Jacqueline agreed. I'm so sorry, Nick, for what you're going through. She stared at me a moment. I'm sorry, I didn't picture Amy with such an American boy. She seemed to be speaking neither to me nor to Desi. Good God, he even has a cleft chin. I came over to see if your son had any information, I said. I know he's written my wife a lot of letters over the years. Oh, the letters, Jacqueline smiled angrily. Such an interesting way to spend one's time, don't you think? Amy shared them with you? Desi asked. I'm surprised. No, I said, turning to him. She threw them away unopened, always. All of them? Always? You know that? Desi said, still smiling. Once I went through the trash to read one. I turned back to Jacqueline, just to see what exactly was going on. Good for you, Jacqueline said, purring at me. I'd expect nothing less of my husband. Amy and I always wrote each other letters, Desi said. He had his mother's cadence, the delivery that indicated everything he said was something you'd want to hear. It was our thing. I find emails so cheap. And no one saves them. No one saves an email because it's so inherently impersonal. I worry about posterity in general. All the great love letters from Simon de Beauvoir to Sartre, from Samuel Clemens to his wife Olivia. I don't know. I always think about what will be lost. Have you kept all my letters? Jacqueline asked. She was standing at the fireplace, looking down on us, one long, sinewy arm trailing along the mantelpiece. Don't know where I got fireplace from. Of course. She turned to me with an elegant shrug. Just curious. I shivered, was about to reach out toward the fireplace for warmth, but remembered that it was July. It seems to me a rather strange devotion to keep all these years, I said. I mean, she didn't write you back. That lit up Desi's eyes. Oh, was all he said, the sound of someone who spied a surprise firework. It strikes me as odd, Nick, that you'd come here and ask Desi about his relationship, or lack thereof, with your wife, Jacqueline Collins said. Are you and Amy not close? I can guarantee you, Desi has had no genuine contact with Amy in decades. Decades. I'm just checking in, Jacqueline. Sometimes you have to see something for yourself. Jacqueline started walking toward the door. She turned and gave me a single twist of her head to assure me that it was time to go. How very intrepid of you, Nick. Very do-it-yourself. Do you build your own decks, too? She laughed at the end of the word and opened the door for me. I stared at the hollow of her neck and wondered why she wasn't wearing a noose of pearls. Women like this always have thick strands of pearls to click and clack. I could smell her, though a female scent. Vaginal and strangely lewd. Oh, she must have stank. It was interesting to meet you, Nick, she said. Let's all hope Amy gets home safely. Until then, the next time you want to get in touch with Desi, she pressed a thick, creamy card into my hands. Call our lawyer, please. Amy Elliott Dunne. August 17th, 2011. Diary entry. I know this sounds the stuff of moony teenage girls, but I've been tracking Nick's moods toward me, just to make sure I'm not crazy. I've got a calendar, and I put hearts on any day Nick seems to love me again, and black squares when he doesn't. The past year was all black squares pretty much, but now, 9 days of hearts in a row. Maybe all he needed to know was how much I loved him and how unhappy I'd become. Maybe he had a change of heart. I've never loved the phrase more. Quiz. After a year of coldness, your husband suddenly seems to love you again. You A. Go on and on about how much he's hurt you so he can apologize some more. B. Give him the cold shoulder for a while longer so he learns his lesson. C. Don't press him about his new attitude. Know that he will confide in you when the time comes, and in the meantime, shower him with affection so he feels secure and loved, because that's how this marriage thing works. D. Demand to know what went wrong. Make him talk and talk about it in order to calm your own neurosis. Answer? C. It's August, so sumptuous that I couldn't bear any more black squares. But no, it's been nothing but hearts. Nick acting like my husband, sweet and loving and goofy. He orders me chocolates from my favorite shop in New York for a treat, and he writes me a silly poem to go with them. A limerick, actually. There once was a girl from Manhattan who slept only on sheets made of satin. Her husband slipped and he slided, and their bodies collided. So they did something dirty in Latin. It would be funnier if our sex life were as carefree as the rhyme would suggest. But last week we did fuck? Do it? Something more romantic than have sex, but less cheesy than make love. He came home from work and kissed me full on the lips, and he touched me as if I were really there. I almost cried. I've been so lonely. To be kissed on the lips by your husband is the most decadent thing. What else? He takes me swimming in the same pond he's gone to since he was a child. I can picture little Nick flapping around manically, face and shoulder sunburned red because, just like now, he refuses to wear sunscreen. Forcing Mama Mo to chase after him with lotion that she wipes on whenever she can reach him. He's been taking me on full tour of his boyhood haunts, like I asked him to for ages. He walks me to the edge of the river and he kisses me as the wind whips my hair. My two favorite things to look at in the world, he whispers in my ear. He kisses me in a funny little playground fort that he once considered his own clubhouse. I always wanted to bring a girl here, a perfect girl. And look at me now, he whispers in my ear. 2 days before the mall closes for good, we ride carousel bunnies side by side, our laughter echoing through the empty miles. He takes me for a sundae at his favorite ice cream parlor, and we have this place to ourselves in the morning, the air all sticky with sweets. He kisses me and says this place is where he stuttered and suffered through so many dates, and he wishes he could have told his high school self that he would be back here with the girl of his dreams someday. We eat ice cream until we have to roll home and get under the covers. His hand on my belly, an accidental nap. The neurotic in me, of course, is asking, where's the catch? Nick's turnaround is so sudden and so grandiose, it feels like he must want something. Or he's already done something and he is being preemptively sweet for when I find out. I worry. I caught him last week shuffling through my thick file box marked The Dunnes, written in my best cursive in happier days. A box filled with all the strange paperwork that makes up a marriage, a combined life. I worry that he is going to ask me for a second mortgage on the bar, or to borrow against our life insurance, or to sell off some not to be touched for 30 years stock. He said he just wanted to make sure everything was in order, but he said it in a fluster. My heart would break, it really would, if mid-bite of bubblegum ice cream he turned to me and said, you know, the interesting thing about a second mortgage is... I had to write that. I had to let that out. And just seeing it, I know it sounds crazy, neurotic and insecure, and suspicious. I will not let my worst self ruin my marriage. My husband loves me. He loves me and he has come back to me, and that is why he is treating me so nice. That is the only reason. Just like that. Here is my life. It's finally returned. What date does this say? August 17th, yeah? So this had to be like probably right before he started messing with old girl. Disgusting. Or right after, I should say. Nick Dunne, 5 days gone. I sat in the billowing heat of my car outside Desi's house. The windows rolled down, and I checked my phone. A message from Gilpin. Hi, Nick. We need to touch base today. Update you on a few things. Go over a few questions. Meet us at 4 at your house, okay? Thanks. It was the first time I've been ordered. Not could we. We'd love to, if you don't mind. But we need to. Meet us. I glanced at my watch. 3 o'clock. Best not be late. The summer air show, a parade of jets and prop planes spinning loops up and down the Mississippi, buzzing the tourist steamboats, rattling teeth, was 3 days off, and the practice runs were in high gear by the time Gilpin and Rhonda arrived. Ooh, Rhonda, not Boney. Interesting. We were all back in my living room for the first time since the day of. My home was right on a flight path. The noise was somewhere between jackhammer and avalanche. My cop buddies and I tried to jam a conversation in the spaces between the blasts. Rhonda looked more bird-like than usual, favoring one leg than another, her head moving all around the room as her gaze alighted on different objects, angles, a magpie looking to line her nest. Gilpin hovered next to her, chewing his lip, tapping a foot. Even the room felt restive. The afternoon sun lit up an atomic flurry of dust motes. A jet shot over the house, that awful sky-rip noise. Okay, couple of things here, Rhonda said when the silence returned. She and Gilpin sat down as if they had both suddenly decided to stay a while. Some stuff to get clear on, some stuff to tell you. All very routine. And as always, if you want a lawyer, but I knew from my TV shows, my movies, that only guilty guys lawyered up. Real, grieving, worried, innocent husbands did not. I don't, thanks, I said. I actually have some information to share with you about Amy's former stalker, the guy she dated back in high school. Desi Collins, began Gilpin. Collings. I know you all talked to him. I know you for some reason aren't that interested in him. So I went to visit him myself today to make sure he seemed okay. And I don't think he is okay. I think he's someone you should all really look into. Really look into. I mean, he moved to St. Louis. He was living in St. Louis 3 years before you all moved back, Gilpin said. Fine, but he's in St. Louis. Easy drive. Amy bought a gun because she was afraid. Desi's okay, Nick. Nice guy, Rhonda said. Don't you think? He reminds me of you, actually. Real golden boy. Baby of the family. I'm a twin. Not the baby. I'm actually 3 minutes older. Rhonda was clearly trying to nip at me, see if she can get a rise, but even knowing this didn't prevent the angry blood flush to my stomach every time she accused me of being a baby. Anyway, Gilpin interrupted, both he and his mother deny he ever stalked Amy, or that he even had much contact with her these past years except the occasional note. My wife would tell you differently. He wrote Amy for years. Years. And then he shows up here for the search, Rhonda. Did you know that? He was here that first day. You talked about keeping an eye out for men inserting themselves into the investigation. Desi Collins is not a suspect, she interrupted, one hand up. But Desi Collins is not a suspect, she repeated. The news stung. I wanted to accuse her of being swayed by Ellen Abbott, but Ellen Abbott was probably best left unmentioned. Okay, well, what about all these? These guys who've clogged up your tip line. I walked over and grabbed a sheet of names and numbers that I carelessly tossed on the dining room table. I began reading names, inserting themselves into the investigation. David Sampson, Murphy Clark, those are old boyfriends. Tommy O'Hara, that's 3 calls. Tito Puente, that's just a dumb joke. Have you phoned any of them back? Boney asked. Now she's Boney. Why was she Rhonda before? No. Isn't that your job? Oh, you know what? I bet she was Rhonda because that part was added in. I think I said to you guys, this book includes previously unpublished scenes. I assume they're scattered throughout. Anyway, no, isn't that your job? I don't know which are worthwhile and which are crazies. I don't have the time to call some jackass pretending to be Tito Puente. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the tip line, Nick, Rhonda said. It's kind of a woodwork situation. I mean, we fielded a lot of phone calls from your old girlfriends. Just want to say hi. See how you are. People are strange. Maybe we should get started on our questions, Gilpin nudged. Right. Well, I guess we should begin with, where were you the morning your wife went missing? Boney said, suddenly apologetic, deferential. She was playing good cop, and we both knew she was playing good cop. Unless she was actually on my side. It seemed possible that sometimes a cop was just on your side, right? When I was at the beach? And you still can't recall anyone seeing you there? Boney asked. It'd help us so much if we could just cross this little thing off our list. She allowed a sympathetic silence. Rhonda could not only keep quiet, she could infuse the room with the mood of her choosing, like an octopus in its ink. Believe me, I like that as much as you, but no, I don't remember anyone. Boney smiled a worried smile. It's strange, we've mentioned, just in passing, your being at the beach to a few people, and they all said they were all surprised. Let's put it that way. Said it didn't sound like you. You aren't much of a beach guy. I shrugged. I mean, do I go to the beach and lay out all day? No. But to sip my coffee in the morning? Sure. Hey, this might help, Boney said brightly. Where'd you buy your coffee that morning? She turned to Gilpin as if to seek approval. Could tighten the time frame at least, right? I made it here, she said. Or I said, oh. She frowned. That's weird because you don't have any coffee here. Nowhere in the house. I remember thinking it was odd. A caffeine addict notices these things. Right, just something you happen to notice, I thought. I knew a cop named Boney Maroney. Her traps were so obvious, they're clearly phony. I had a leftover cup in the fridge I heated up. I shrugged again. No big deal. Huh. Must have been there a long time. I noticed there's no coffee container in the trash. Few days. Still tastes good. We both smiled at each other. I know, and you know. Game on. I actually thought those idiotic words. Game on. Yet I was pleased in a way. The next part was starting. Boney turned to Gilpin, hands on knees, and gave a little nod. Gilpin chewed his lips some more, then finally pointed. Toward the ottoman, the end table, the living room now righted. See, here's our problem, Nick. We've seen dozens of home invasions. Dozens upon dozens, Boney interrupted. Many home invasions. All this area right there in the living room, remember it? The upturned ottoman, the overturned table, the vase on the floor. He slapped down a photo of the scene in front of me. This whole area. It was supposed to look like a struggle, right? My head expanded and snapped back into place. Stay calm. Supposed to? It looked wrong, Gilpin continued. From the second we saw it. To be honest, the whole thing looked staged. First of all, there's the fact it was all centered in this one spot. Why wasn't anything messed up anywhere but this room? It's odd. He proffered another photo, a close-up. And look here, at this pile of books. They should be in front of the end table. The end table is where they're stacked, right? I nodded. So when the end table was knocked over, they should have spilled mostly in front of it, following the trajectory of the falling table. Instead, they're back behind it, as if someone swept them off before knocking over the table. I stared dumbly at the photo. And watch this. This is very curious to me, Gilpin continued. He pointed at 3 slender antique frames on the mantelpiece. He stomped heavily, and they all flopped face down immediately. But somehow they stayed upright through everything else. He showed a photo of the frames upright. I had been hoping, even after they caught my Houston's dinner slip-up, that they were dumb cops. Cops from the movies, local rubes aiming to please, trusting the local guy. Whatever you say, buddy. I didn't get dumb cops. I don't know what you want me to say, I mumbled. I just don't know what you want me to think about this. I just want to find my wife. So do we, Nick. So do we, Rhonda said. But here's another thing, the ottoman. Remember how it was flipped upside down? She patted the squatty ottoman, pointing at his 4 peg legs, each only an inch high. See, this thing is bottom heavy because of those tiny legs. The cushion practically sits on the floor. Try to push it over. I hesitated. Go on. Try it, Boney urged. I gave it a push, but it slid across the carpet instead of turning over. I nodded. I agreed. It was bottom heavy. Seriously, get down there if you need to, and knock that thing upside down, Boney ordered. I knelt down, pushed from the lower and lower angles, finally put a hand underneath the ottoman and flipped it. Even then, it lifted up, one side hovering, and fell back into place. I finally had to pick it up and turn it over manually. Weird, huh? Boney said, not sounding all that puzzled. Nick, you do any housekeeping the day your wife went missing? Gilpin asked. No. Okay, because the tech did a luminol sweep, and I'm sorry to tell you, the kitchen floor lit up. A good amount of blood was spilled there. Amy's type. Be positive, Boney interrupted. And I'm not talking a little cut. I'm talking blood. Oh my God. A cloud of heat appeared in the middle of my chest. But, yes. So your wife made it out of this room, Gilpin said. Somehow, in theory, she made it into the kitchen without disturbing any of those gewgaws on that table just outside the kitchen. And then she collapsed in the kitchen, where she lost a lot of blood. We're going to pause there because that's a perfect cliffhanger right there. Woo-wee! Yes, sir. All right, y'all. This has been episode 9 of Sip, Read, Repeat. Thank you so much for tuning in and stopping by. Until next time, peace.